Hi, I'm Shao. Today I would like to discuss a special class of lenses. In the past I related depth perception offered by a lens to the types of glass used by that lens. The rule is that the more dense the glass in the lens, on average, the more pop you will get, because dense glass enhances chromatic aberration, and chromatic aberration mixes adjacent pixels and allows for a more gradual tonal transition, and that gradual transition resembles what we see with our own eyes. Well, there is one class of lenses that could defy that rule. And I'm talking about wide and especially ultra-wide lenses. Those lenses are characterized by a strong positive front element, or even a few of them right at the front of the lens. The purpose of those strong positive elements is to capture peripheral light coming into the field of view at an acute angle. The peripheral light coming at a sharp angle has to be bent by the lens. And it's quite a significant bending that is required. So those elements tend to be thin at the center and going wider and wider towards the edges, the periphery. So the light coming from the sides has to pass through quite a chunk of glass, quite a long path. The peripheral light could suffer some high level of dispersion because of the angle and because of the long path the light travels through the lens. In some cases, the angle is so sharp that some of the light, usually the shorter wavelengths, the blue light, bounce off the glass and create some internal scattering. What you see, or might see, is a slight ghosting in the final image captured by the sensor. The high level of dispersion has to be corrected. So typically those lenses, 28 millimeter and wider, will contain at least one ED element. The lens filming me now, the Thypoc 28mm f1.4, has a front ED element, and it is there in order to prevent that scattering of blue light coming from the periphery. The wider the lens, you will need more corrective glass. deeper inside the lens. Both Falkland 21mm f1.4 and the Thypok 21mm f1.4 contain three ED glass elements. However, that ED glass is balanced by an equal number of high refractive index elements that help create some light dispersion. And the output of those lenses, both of them, is quite poppy. I own the Falkland 21mm f1.4, and by far it is my favorite wide-angle prime. You will be really hard-pressed to find a wide lens that is deprived of any low dispersion glass, except for older lenses. But those older lenses tended to have smaller maximum aperture, so the scattering of light in the periphery was actually limited by the aperture. Still, the use of too much ED glass, even in wide angles, diminishes the appearance of depth or the poppiness of those lenses. I would say that 28mm or 24mm should not have more than two ED elements. 20 or a 21mm lens should not have more than three. Lenses such as the Tamron 15 to 30 or the new Tamron 16 to 30 have 4 or 5 ED elements, and that excess low dispersion glass still creates a flat image. The best wide-angle lens I own is actually a zoom. It's the slightly old Nikon 20 to 35mm f2.8. It's not a very fast lens, but for daylight or even for indoors photography, it is quite satisfactory. This lens was made about 30 years ago. It does not contain any ED glass, and it does suffer some severe lateral chromatic aberration because light dispersion is not very well corrected in it. But still, it's a lovely lens. It was meant to be used for living things, for people, for human situations. The 20 to 35 is not a cheap lens, not even now, when you can only buy it on the second-hand market. It typically costs around $600 to $800 in a good shape. However, it's a lens that was only made for a few short years before Nikon replaced it with another one, the 17 to 35 f2.8 ED, which did contain ED glass and is slightly less poppy. Lateral CA is correctable. in post-processing. So it shouldn't be a great concern for you, especially if you like shooting RAW. Next, I would like to address a few viewers' questions. The first one has to do with the type of sensor used in a camera. A viewer of this channel asked whether CCD sensors might offer more pop than CMOS sensor. According to my hypothesis, the rendering of in terms of depth perception or dimensionality is caused only by the optics, either the lens itself or the glass sensor stack, the glass covering the sensor, and not by the sensor itself. The sensors function, and it doesn't matter whether it's a CMOS or a CCD sensor, is rather straightforward. It only captures light, transfers it into an electric charge, and then the electric charge is converted into a number. And that number is further processed to create the image we all see. The rendering would be created by the treatment of light upstream to the sensor. Now, there is a lot of hot air nowadays around CCD cameras. Some people swear by them. They claim that CCD sensors have their own way of rendering a scene, that their look is more organic than what you would get from a CMOS sensor, and that the color are more film-like, or other descriptions that are used to differentiate between those two types of sensors. Now, I cannot deny that CCD sensor cameras tend to have a more stylized look, especially in terms of color. Colors made by those a little bit older cameras are less neutral. They have a special, a unique signature sometimes that differs from what we see nowadays from CMOS sensors. Well, the thing is that that special look of CCD sensor cameras is arbitrary more than intrinsic to the sensor technology. CCD sensors were mainly used until around 2006, 2007, before the industry moved on to CMOS sensors, which are more efficient in terms of their energy consumption, in terms of the heat they generate. In the early days of digital, camera companies tried to persuade the public to move from film into digital. So they had to make the images that came out of those cameras, especially JPEGs, more akin to film, or to popular film that were available at the time. They did process the files inside the camera in a way that created those pleasing images with richer colors, with certain inaccuracies. However, that trend was not only true for CCDs. Early CMOS sensor cameras created a special look too. If you look at cameras like the venerable Canon 5D Classic or the Nikon D700 or other CMOS cameras created at the time, the second half of the first decade of the new millennium, you will notice that they also have a highly stylized look. In terms of colors, my favorite cameras are all CMOS ones. Those include the Nikon D700, which was introduced in 2008, the Olympus E330, that was introduced in 2006, and the Olympus E3, which was introduced in 2007. They all have their own look that differs between them. But in all cases, it's not a neutral look. It's not the type of raw files or JPEGs coming straight out of the camera that a new camera would give you. Another question I was asked was regarding inexpensive lenses that are highly poppy. Now, thinking about it, I realized that there are not many of them. Unfortunately, I do not have a lot of experience with manual lenses made by the new Chinese manufacturers who try to emulate older designs like 7 Artisans, TT Artisans, and others. But out of the modern lenses, there are hardly any poppy ones. And the ones that exist are not really very cheap, except one or two lenses, which are the Nikon 40mm f2 and the Nikon 28mm f2.8. Those are the new nifty 50s for the Z system, and they do create a nice rendering. They have some dimensionality. They are perhaps not highly poppy, unlike other lenses that are really special. But they do differ from most modern lenses. They are nicer. I am not aware of any other poppy lenses made for other mirrorless mounts. And those that do exist, the 55mm f1.8 Sony Zeiss, are rather expensive. I think that lens is about $500 to $600 used. Poppy lenses made for the Fuji X mount are also rather expensive, and they tend to keep their price rather well in the second-hand market. As to older lenses, the Poppy ones were always top-tier lenses, really high-end optics that were designed for professional use. There are a few Canon EF lenses in the L series, like the 85mm f1.2, the 50mm f1.2, the 24mm f1.4, and those are rather expensive, or at least they used to be, but they do retain quite a high price. Same goes for Nikon lenses. They're Nikon's f1.4 G series that contains 6 or 7 lenses. Is generally quite nice. Those lenses are dimensional and they do stand out. However, they are quite expensive, even on the second-hand market. The prices go from around $700 to $1,000. One or two of them are even more expensive. Falkland lenses are typically priced at $600 to $1,000, and they retain their prices very well in the second-hand market. There are two exceptions though, and those are the old classics, the 35mm f1.4 and the 40mm f1.4. Their performance wide open is quite questionable. They are clearly under-engineered. They are rather soft wide open. But they do offer nice dimensionality, and I like them. I own the 40mm f1.4, and it is by far my best 40mm lens. It's far from perfect, of course, but I do like it, making photos of people, which is my preferred genre. The Thypox Chimera series contains a few f1.4 primes made for various mounts. Are quite nice and dimensional too. However, those lenses cost around $600 to $1,000 too, like their Falkland equivalents. They too retain a high price in the second-hand market. To find inexpensive, highly poppy lenses, you would have to go heavily vintage and look at lenses designed during the mid-20th century, really. One of those lenses is the Helios 44, which is a lovely lens. Finding one in a good condition is quite a challenge these days. The Helios 44 was produced in its millions in the former Soviet Union. A good one would cost you around $100, maybe slightly more, but it is worth it, especially when considering the modern alternatives. Another nice lens I can recommend is the Jupiter 9. It's an 85mm f2, also produced in the former Soviet Union, and that is a lower contrast lens with an original Zona design. This lens is nice and poppy, although you will need to open up its tonal gradation by increasing its contrast a little bit in post-production to really enjoy its dimensionality. Another lens I could recommend is the Carl Zeiss Jena 135mm f3.5. I would get the Red MC version, which is all black, not the Zebra version. The Zebra version contains some thorium and is radioactive. But the newer version, the Red MC, is just as nice. It's a lovely lens, but 135mm lenses have a very limited use case. They are only good for outdoors portraits. Many inexpensive vintage lenses are 50mm. They are all designed after the Zeiss planar design, or the double Gaussian. So they have around 7 elements in 6 groups. And that design is not really very poppy. For 50mm, it's much better to look for Zona design that contain the same number of elements, but in less groups. So they have big chunks of glass that are made of a few elements cemented together. And that really gives them some dimensionality, albeit at a loss of contrast. So lenses such as the Soviet Jupiter 8, which is a 50mm f2, or the new incarnation of that lens, sort of, which is the 7 Artisans 50mm f1.1. That lens is lovely. It is a sort of Zona design, not exactly the classic design. It is poppy, and it creates highly dimensional images. That lens is also far from perfect. It was produced only for 1 or 2 years before the manufacturer decided it was not performing well enough. It was replaced by other designs. But if you can get your hand on one, I can warmly recommend it. As for wider vintage lenses that offer some pop, those are scarce. I can't think of a single lens that matches my criteria. Maybe something like Nikon 24mm f2.8 AIS, or even the AFD are quite good. They're not highly poppy, but they will render nicely. They are a little bit better than the modern equivalents, except of course those high-end lenses made by Canon or Nikon in the 2010s. A really nice wide-angle zoom would be the Canon 17 to 35mm f2.8, which was introduced in the mid or late 90s. It's a zoom and it's quite large and heavy, but it does give a solution for the wider angles, as is that Nikon 20 to 35mm I was talking about before. Those might be a little bit too expensive to be considered cheap vintage lenses. However, they do offer a solution for a wide range of focal lengths, and they are both highly poppy. I can really recommend them. Okay, that will be all for today. If you enjoyed this video or other videos on my channel, you are always welcome to consider buying me a coffee. There's a link in the description below. It's a nice gesture between gentlemen. So until the next time, goodbye.